You want style? You found her.
Hey guys, so it's an interesting video on Wild Rift. So we're back with a Samira complete guide. Of course, now Samira did release a couple of days ago at this point, and I have played quite a number of matches with Samira, and I do think that I do understand her well enough to make this complete guide and pretty much go through her build, rune spells, her leveling order, and her what her skills and abilities actually do. Now, before we get into that, really quickly, I'm going to talk about the patch 3.3b tier list, which I'm not going to make. Now, the reason why I'm not making one is because I wanted to wait for Samira or Sion's release before making it. But at this point, the patch 3.3c is going to come out in like 2 to 3 days time, so there really isn't a point in making a tier list for patch 3.3b because it's going to be irrelevant in a couple of days time. So I will be making a tier list for patch 3.3c instead. So anyways, let's get straight on to talking about Samira. We have a lot to cover, so this is probably going to be a really long one. So first up, how strong do I think Samira is? Now, on release, I think Samira is really, really strong, but I don't think she's S plus tier. And the reason why I say I don't think she's S plus tier is because she has so many counters. Basically, you could take it as if Samira is a melee Katarina. But instead of Katarina's main damage comes from her daggers spinning, not her ultimate, but Samira's main damage comes from her ultimate, which is her Inferno trigger. So basically, you have to use your ultimate to deal damage to people. Your auto attacks and your abilities are not going to do a lot of damage unless you're incredibly fed, of course. So your main damage comes from your ultimate. But the issue with this is that you have to ult in the middle of the entire enemy team for that to happen. And if the enemy team has a very easy point and click CC, for example, a Pantheon W or a Vayne Condemn, you pretty much can never ever do that because if they are smart, if you're playing in high elo, they will save your CC for you, and when you go in for the ultimate, you pretty much will just get destroyed. You'll get interrupted, then you'll get destroyed. So you pretty much can't play the game. So Samira, I think, is completely broken in matches where you can pick her, but the problem is you can't pick her in all matches because she has so many counters. Anybody with point and click CC, even if the CC that's aimable, that's easy to hit. For example, an Ari charm. If Ari saves a charm and you go in, you're gonna get destroyed because you are slowed when you ult. So basically, long story cut short is she's completely busted if you can pick her, but you can't pick her in a lot of matches, basically. So anyways, we're not gonna waste too much time talking about Samira and how broken she is, kinda. We're gonna jump into the practice tool and we're gonna talk about her skills and her leveling order. Because she does have a lot of things to cover, combos, and her abilities do multiple different things. So anyways, the first thing we're gonna cover is gonna be her leveling order. So at level 1, you pretty much want to take your Q, and level 2, you normally want to go for E so that you can at least go in to against the enemies if you need it. Level 3, of course, you will take your W, then you will max Q first, take alt when available, and then max E next. Of course, taking out when available. Missed one out level up there, but yeah, I missed another out level up there, but yeah. So that's what we're going to be doing. So this is going to be your leveling order: Q max first, E max second, and W max last, taking out whenever available. So now we're going to head over to our favorite spot in the river. Haven't done this in quite a while because of course there haven't really been new champions for me to cover in quite a while. So we're going to cover what her passive does. So first up, her passive is the style point. So basically, as you guys can see, if you attack enemy champions, this doesn't work on minions, you do get style. You start off at E, and as you guys can see, you have to do unique attacks. So for example, I auto attack, I'm not increasing my style at all. I have to Q, and then that will increase my style by 1. I auto increases my style by 1 again. I can Q auto. Basically, anything that's not the same as your previous attack will increase your style. And every stack of style you do get additional movement speed by I think like 3.5%. Now this seems to be pretty irrelevant, but first up, you need your style to cast your ultimate. We'll get into that later. But secondly, that 3.5 movement speed, particularly in the laning phase, is going to be very relevant for actually running people down if you are in such a scenario. As you guys can see, there is a bar there, that red bar that goes down to kind of indicate to you how long more your style will last. When it expires, you will go back to 0 style. So if you see, by attacking an enemy with any kind of ability, it will refresh that duration, and when that duration runs out, like so, you'll be back to 0 style. So the next passive Samira has is she has two kinds of attacks. The first one is of course her ranged basic attack, which every ADC has. But the next one is if you're close to an enemy like that, you will actually do a melee basic attack, which will do additional magic damage. So basically, if you are in melee range, you will automatically use your melee attack, and therefore you will do more damage to the enemies. And of course this is going to be really useful because you're generally going to be inside the enemy team quite often because of your ultimate. So yeah. So next up we have your Q. As you guys can see, you have a pretty strange indicator. Now that's because your Q also has a melee and ranged form. So if there's no one in the melee area, you will be just shooting basically a normal skill shot. It's just simply just a normal bullet. But if you're in melee range, it will slash, and as you guys can see, it hit both the skull and the enemy, so it will slash everybody within this cone. So it's possible to hit all 5 members of the enemy. Oops, it's possible to hit all 5 members of the enemy team with this slash. So of course, pretty much as with the entire Samira's entire kit, it's always better to go use the melee version compared to the range version, of course, unless it's not safe to do so. Now her W is probably one of her most interesting abilities. It will do damage twice. First up, let me get myself 0 cooldown because it has a really long cooldown. So first up, it does damage here, and then when it expires, it does damage again. So what this does is it's basically a like half a second, I think, wind wall, 0.75 seconds. So basically, this is a wind wall. Anything that it's cast into that thing, the projectile will get destroyed. For example, you can destroy Blitzcrank hooks, brand, ultimates, thresh hooks, that kind of thing. Any kind of projectile will be destroyed. But take note, it only works against projectiles. So it doesn't work against anything melee. So for example, if you cast this and like a Pantheon comes in and stuns you, that's not gonna actually block anything. So it pretty much, you can take it as an AoE melee wind wall. So next is her E. So her E has to be targeted onto, can be targeted onto enemy champions, can be targeted onto monsters, but cannot be targeted onto allies. Now, can it be targeted onto plants? No, it cannot. Can it be targeted onto wards? It actually can, I think. Wait, we did see, yeah, so it can actually be targeted onto wards, but it's a little bit difficult. Like you guys can see, I need a very particular angle to target it onto the ward. Actually, no, it's trying to get me to target onto the enemy champion, so it can't be targeted onto wards. I didn't actually know that. I was testing it out for myself. So what it does basically is you'll dash a fixed distance. So if you use it at max range, you'll dash right onto the enemy. If you use it when you're close to the enemy, you'll dash through the enemy. So it dashes a fixed distance. So you gotta take note of this. You don't want to accidentally like dash yourself into tower range or something like that. That wouldn't be very good. And another thing is you can actually cast your Q while you are in your dash, which will pretty much leave a trail of bullets behind you. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that. You basically double tap your E. So like that, you guys can see like that again. It will explode the entire area that you have passed through. And yeah. So last up is her ultimate. As you guys can see, basically what you do is you slow yourself and you hit everybody within that range. Now it says up to 5 enemy champions, but it's not actually possible to have more than 5 enemy champions in one game. I'm not sure if they count like Wukong's clone or something like that as another enemy champion, but you can only hit up to 5 enemy champions, and you can only cast your ultimate when you're at full style points. Yeah, you can only cast it when you're at full style points. And yeah, that's pretty much what is going on with Samira. And another thing I forgot to cover about her passive is the fact that she actually gets a special passive where if you're out of range, for example, you see Samira has like Lucian Vayne Kai'Sa kind of range where she has very low range. If an enemy gets immobilized, she can actually dash into range, and if they get knocked up, she'll actually increase the knockup duration by by 0.5 seconds. Now I can't actually demonstrate this in practice too because I don't have anyone to knock up or anyone to immobilize for me, but I'm just going to mention it here. Now I think I missed something out about her ultimate. I'm pretty sure that's something I missed out about. I think I missed out something. Oh yeah, I missed out something about her E. When she dashes through, she gains an additional amount of attack speed. I remember I missed out something. So she gets extra attack speed after you E. So there is a way to get maximum style points in one combo, but you need to have your W up for that. So I believe it's auto, you W, yeah, like that. So that's the way to get maximum style points in, yeah, instantly basically. If you need maximum style points instantly, the combo is you auto attack once, you have to be in range for your W to hit, and then you double tap your E, and that will basically give you max style. So again, auto, Q, Actually, that did not give me. I think I need to hit 2 different enemies with the W. That's why it did not actually give me the maximum points. So let's try that again. So we're gonna auto W, double tap. Yeah, there we go. We got the maximum style points, and then we can ult like that. So the ult does 25% less damage to like minions and everything, because basically it's not meant for wave clear or anything. It's meant to be used on champions. Of course, if you have maximum style points and there's no one to use it on but minions, you still want to do that. But it's pretty much meant for you to use on champions. That's why it does ridiculously low damage to minions. So that is it for her skills and her leveling order. Now we can move on to talking about her build, her runes, and her spells. So I have done a lot of testing for build runes and spells, so I do think I know what is up when it comes to the build runes and spells. So here we have her build runes and spells. So first, of course, we're going to cover the build. So Samira's ultimate, in case you guys didn't know, does proc lifesteal. So her core item is going to be the Bloodthirster. Now what does the Bloodthirster give you? Of course, it gives you the attack damage, the crit rate, and the physical vamp. So Samira is a little bit like Draven, but Draven actually cares a little bit about attack speed, which is why you go for things like Lethal Tempo and Storm Razor. But Samira literally does not care about attack speed at all. Like, as you guys can see from this build, you don't have a single attack speed item. The only attack speed you're going to be getting is from your E. So first up, you go for the Bloodthirster to get the extra physical vamp. It's a must. It's confirmed. It's confirmed first item for Samira. Definitely no other choice there. Then, because Samira doesn't have really good items, because there isn't actually any other lifesteal item that's a crit item in Wild Rift. In PC, there is more than one lifesteal crit item, so you have to go for the IE next, because it's the only real item that gives you any value. As I said, you don't want to be building any attack speed item because that's a waste of gold. So you go for the IE, you get more crit damage, you get more crit, and you get more AD. So now, because there isn't actually any crit item that is really worth it to get, you actually go into your armor penetration item instead. So personally, I love taking Sorela's Grudge on Samira. Now the reason why I love taking Sorela's Grudge is because when you ult, sometimes it's easy for people to flash out or escape, but with the Sorela's Grudge slow, especially if you have your E up, you can actually chase them down and they can't actually run away. It's a bit similar to how Lucian's ult gives a huge slow with the Sorela's Grudge. It's kind of the same thing with Samira, except you're applying it to the everybody that you're hitting with your ultimate, so I think that's really good. For the enchant, you're gonna actually want to take one of the defensive boot enchants, so either you take the Merc Treads or the Pillared Steel Caps, and the reason why you do this is because movement speed is not really that important to Samira, considering she's not the kiting style. She's always going to be going in. You don't really need more cooldown. Lifesteal is good, but considering you're in the middle of the enemy team, you want to really get one of the defensive boot options so you can survive longer and lifesteal more. And of course, you want to get the stasis because you're in the middle of the enemy team. You need that protection for your team to help you out if necessary. And then we're going to talk about her final 2 items. Alright, so next up, you actually go for the Essence Weaver. Now, why Essence Weaver? I've tested out 3 items. So I've tested out the Solari Charge Blade, I've tested out Storm Razor, and I've tested out Essence Weaver. Now what I found is Solari Charge Blade does the most damage overall if you can weave in auto attacks in between casting your ability. So if you Q auto, something like that to charge up your stacks, Solari Charge Blade will have the most damage output. But the thing about Samira is she doesn't normally do that. What she normally does is she normally stacks her flare a little bit, and then she does an all-in like what I showed you just now with that combo that starts off with a auto W and then you go in with your double tap E. So you don't actually have a lot of time to proc your Solari Charge Blade stack, so that really doesn't make sense to go for. Now I've also considered other options like Navori Quick Blades, but which is gonna get buffed in the next patch by the gold cost, but it really doesn't make sense because you don't really need cooldown damage. Now I tried Storm Razor simply because Storm Razor is such an OP item now. Even though she doesn't need attack speed, there are a lot of other champions like Lucian, for example, who just built Storm Razor just because of how broken the item is. But in reality, I think if you want to build Storm Razor, you have to build it as a first item. If not, it loses a lot of its value. Its value being the fact that it builds out of BF Sword and the fact that it's a really strong first item. But since you're not going for Storm Razor first item, and I don't like Storm Razor first item by the way, Storm Razor is really not that good anymore. So really the only option you have left that makes sense is Essence Weaver, because it gives you everything you want. It gives you ability haste, gives you attack damage, gives you crit, and it even increases your ability damage scaling with your crit, of course, and by this point in time you have 75% crit, so you're going to be getting quite a lot of bonus damage, so it really does make sense. It gives you the best damage output. I've tried all 3 items already, and I even tested it in the practice tool, and Essence Reaver seems to just make the most sense. Now, I forgot to mention something real quick. You can also go for the Mauler Reminder if you need the Grievous Wounds instead of the Seralda's Grudge. That still works as well. Now, your final item, you go for Guardian Angel. Now, I am aware that Guardian Angel is going to get nerfed in the next patch, and the gold cost is going to go to 3,400, as it said in the Wild Rift Twitter patch preview. However, I think that for Samira in particular, I still think we need the GA because you're always going to be in the middle of the enemy team, and the chance of you dying is very high. So I think that GA is a core item on Samira personally, so I will still go for the GA on Samira, but I think on a lot of other ADCs you shouldn't go for GA anymore. We'll cover more about that when I discuss like ADC builds or the patch notes or something like that, but this is not the time to discuss that. So yeah, this is going to be her build. Now for her runes and spells. For the runes you take Conqueror. Now the reason why you take Conqueror is because Conqueror takes 6 stacks to stack up to full. Her passive takes 6 stacks to stack up to full as well. So when you get to S rank on your passive, you're going to have a full stack Conqueror. And what the full stack Conqueror gives you is additional AD, which is of course what she wants. And you also get additional 5% bonus physical and magic vamp. Now of course we do know that Samira wants vamp. Like that's the #1 thing that Samira wants. So in this case, despite having the nerf Conqueror, Samira still benefits a lot from the Conqueror. So I still think Conqueror is going to be the best rune for Samira. Now what else gives you vamp? Of course the Hunter Vampirism. So of course you're going to go for Hunter Vampirism as well. Altogether you will have the Conqueror Vamp, the Hunter Vampirism Vamp, and the Bloodthirster Vamp. Should be more than enough. And for the middle rune, Nullifying Orb is generally really good because, as I said, you are in the middle of the enemy team a lot, and triggering that shield automatically is going to be really useful for you. So that kind of just makes sense. And finally, I like to go for Hunter Genius, simply because there isn't really very good options here. Now, Hunter Genius generally helps you get your E and your W up more often in case you don't get the reset on your E if you don't get a takedown, so you do get your spells up more often. Your Q is such a low cooldown, doesn't actually matter. I only take Hunter Genius because there really isn't any other better options. Of course you could go for like Sweet Tooth, you could go for like Nimbus Cloak if you prefer. It's kind of real personal preference. I think Hunter Genius gives you the most value though, so that's why I go for that. Finally, the spells, obviously we take Flash, and generally of course we just take Exhaust because generally just makes sense as an ADC to take Exhaust, especially on Samira, because even with the nerfed range on Exhaust, you can even use it offensively. Like when you go in with your ult, whoever does the most damage to you, you can actually just exhaust them while you're in your ult, and that can sometimes save you, which I have done quite a number of times. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Samira's items, runes, and spells. Now we can move on to talking about her gameplay. Alright, so now we're going to move on to discuss the gameplay, but before that, as usual, just a small reminder to, of course, like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoy the video. It really helps the channel out. And of course, any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will respond or at least like the comments. Alrighty, so here we have Samira gameplay. I get hooked instantly, but that's actually good because I will of course outtrade Blitzcrank's damage. Tristana was not in the area, now she is. I exhaust her so that her bomb does less damage, force her flash, and Wukong actually rotates immediately at level 1, takes his E, forces Nami to flash, and Nami heals as well. Blitzcrank tanks a tower shot, misses the hook, so I flash forward. I'm at S rank now, and I am able to get the first blood onto Blitzcrank. The bomb is charging onto me, so I'm going to have to back off a little bit. Tristana unfortunately does pick up the kill onto the Nami, so overall it is a 1-for-1 trade in terms of supports. Both ADCs do get the kill. However, an important thing to note is that basically Tristana now has to back. She's used up all her spells. On my side, we have used up all our spells as well, but Blitzcrank has the exhaust still, so that is something that's really important to note, which is that we can't really fool around because the exhaust is still up. Now here I was thinking of backing, but I realized with Nami heal and with the fruit I can still stick around, and I'm not at any particular disadvantage. So something else to note is that Tristana actually has gone for Kraken Slayer, which is of course going to be better for her early game, but in terms of late game it's going to be way worse because she doesn't get the attack speed that she needs. Now here Nami gets hooked, kind of gets caught. I'm trying to focus the Tristana, trying to block using my W. I managed to damage Tristana quite a significant amount, and with the bonus movement speed I get from the passive, I am able to get in an extra shot on Tristana and Blitzcrank without putting myself in too much danger, and that's kind of what I was referring to, that the passive before you reach level 5 is still important in terms of movement speed, helps you dodge, helps you chase down, helps you run away, etc. Now here, I knew that the hook was coming, so I was trying to back away. Unfortunately, I still get myself hooked, and as a result, I do die. So this kind of really shows the value of Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is going to be really good when you are able to get, you know, hooks like that and get picks. So either way, kind of my bad for getting hooked there. We're going to just move on from that. So yeah, just really quickly, gonna discuss about who is good to play with Samira. Now basically, because of Samira's passive giving you the dash when you have someone who's immobilized, or even the extra CC duration when someone is knocked up, you want to be playing with a support who has CC. Now in this case, Nami works because she has her bubble, she has her wave. Janna works as well, but the best partners for Samira is gonna be champions which are engaged tanks. But before we talk about engaged tanks, we're gonna talk about how we pick up the Wukong through the collapse, and I get a pick onto Tristana as well off the back of that. Now here I got no one to ult, so I'm gonna just ult the minions. As you guys can see, it does like negative damage to the minions, barely did a single thing. So here we're just going to clear out the minions using our basic attack and our E, and then we can actually clear out the next wave as well before we recall. So here it's just a Blitzcrank. As long as I don't get hooked into the tower, there's nothing he can actually do to me. And as long as I stay behind the minions, that will definitely be the case. So here I just clear out the minion wave and then I can recall. So really the best partners for Samira is going to be engaged tanks like Leona and Nautilus, especially Nautilus because he has a root on his passive. His ult and his Q is a knockup, so you can really get a lot of kills in lane and in the game in general with like something like a Nautilus as your support. Something like Leona works really well as well. She has like 3 immobilizing effects, so those work the best for Samira. But of course some enchanters like Nami and Janna, for example, still will work really well as well. Alright, so here, nothing too much happening. We're just going to clear out the minions. Now, me and Tristana both have really low range, so if we fight, it's generally going to be an all-in, as you guys have been seeing. So Samira is one of those champions, like a lot like Katarina, where if you get a hit in the early stages of the game, you can really snowball the game out of control. Whereas if you get behind in the early stages of the game, you can start to feel pretty useless. And as I did mention, there are some champions that are really hard to play into. Now, this comp is actually, in theory, relatively hard to play into. Now, why is that the case? Basically, you gotta look at who has instant interrupt. So, when you go in, Wukong's ult is an instant interrupt, Blitzcrank ult is an instant interrupt as well. And if you're going in anywhere near Blitzcrank, his point and click knockup with his E is also an instant interrupt. So this is a relatively hard matchup to play, and I honestly wouldn't recommend picking Samira into this particular composition, but you know, I just really wanted to play Samira. So I just picked her anyway, but I don't do that anymore because I realized that Samira is horrible into certain comps, and there are certain comps that you really just can't play into, like particular champions, especially like champions like Wukong, champions like Xin Zhao, especially. Like Xin Zhao is almost impossible to play against because when you ult in, he's just gonna ult instantly, which not only blocks your damage but normally will end up cancelling your ult as well. So it's really impossible to play into certain champions like that. Of course, in other champions like Vayne and Pantheon, as I mentioned, has instant CC as well, which makes it really difficult to play Samira. Anyways, here we're going to quickly just pick up the dragon with very little contest from the enemy team. We did get out the ult from the Samira as well, so that is of course really good. And yeah, so now we're just going to go back to basically just farming our minions. And yeah, nothing too much happening here. So here is a really good example of how you can use your W to cancel the Blitzcrank hook. Now, I'm not the most confident dodger of Blitzcrank hook. Now, Blitzcrank hook is a skill that I've always had problems with, even though I'm playing at like Diamond 1 at this point. I always get hit by Blitzcrank hook for some reason. So, you know, I'm not going to take any chances and think that I have the skills to dodge it. I'm just going to block it with the W. So here we have the Nami getting caught. I do get up to S rank and I am able to ult. I exhaust the Tristana, but Tristana does get the reset on the rocket jump because of the kill, and she is able to escape, which is really unfortunate. But hey, you know, with Samira, whenever you can use ult, you should just use it because there is basically 0 cooldown on her ult anyways, which is something that's a really interesting aspect of Samira. Basically, you ult whenever you can, unlike like almost every other champion. Maybe like Corki does that as well, but basically, not many champions will do that. So here I'm at a very significant health advantage. Even though I'm 2v1, they are both really low. So of course I still gotta be cautious because Blitzcrank has a lot of CC, so I could just instantly die because of that. So I'm just trying to interrupt her and waste her time, which is what I do manage to do. Now this allows me to actually push in the wave and pick up a plate, or maybe even two. Yeah, so here I can pick up a second plate with the help of Nami, because the Tristana is not around to actually help out. So here, again, I'm going to use the W to cancel the hook just in case. Tristana rocket jumps in, basically means she doesn't have her rocket jump anymore. So really significant information there. The mana shield is also, so here we can see the dash into range as well as the increased duration for knockup finally. So when Nami hits the bubble, I'm able to dash into auto attack range as well as increase the duration of her bubble knockup, which is of course really useful. And yeah, so here Master Yi is kind of just hovering around, but he's not really going in for a gank. So this basically allows us to play a lot more aggressive, because if they commit onto us, Master Yi can come in and he can basically punish them for overcommitting onto us. Now he is actually backing off now, so we can no longer do that. But instead we're gonna just focus the tower. Now unfortunately Wukong comes in with the ultimate. The enemy bot lane goes for Nami, Wukong goes for me. I'm ulting the Wukong, and I can't really take too much more damage, and I have blown my ult, so I'm gonna just back up and let Master Yi finish the kill. I'm popping the fruit. The Tristana still on the chase for Nami, does get collapsed on by the Annie and does die, so overall kind of a disaster for the enemy team overall. We managed to pick up the tower. Here I'm going on to the Blitzcrank. His mana shield pops again. I'm at A rank, getting to S rank, ulting him, and I do get the kill on him as well. His hook does interrupt me, but too little too late. We do pick up the kill onto the Blitzcrank as well. So overall 3 kills in on that play. We get ourselves the tier 1 top tower as well, and now we're going for the tier 2 top tower. Wukong has no ult because he just used it in the previous fight, so he's not too big of a threat. Tristana though, she's coming in. And here I'm trying to go in to help out. Here I get my ultimate out the Tristana. I get the reset on my E, go onto the Wukong, use the W just for the damage because I can't really actually block anything from Wukong anyways. And I do pick up the double kill. Right, so you guys can see that, you know, with Samira it's a lot like Katarina. Like when you go in, when you ult, you get resets and you can get more kills. Something like that is basically how it kind of goes. So here we can finally return back to the base and pick up a couple of items. We can pick up the entire IE actually. Now 5, 1, and 2, we're doing really well with 8k gold. Next closest person to us is the Tristana at just 1000 gold below us. So now this game looks like it's going really well, and it is. But most of my team's lead is on me. As you guys can see, my whole team is at 6k plus gold. I'm the only one at 8k plus gold. So the 2k advantage that my team has is actually purely on me, more or less. So the thing about Samira is you always want to be going in to do the damage because all your damage comes from your ult, but you can't really fool around in a sense that you can't actually you know, just do something too reckless and just die, especially if you're the one that is kind of feeding. So something, not feeding, carrying, something like this. So you see that I block the Blitzcrank hook and I try to go in on the Blitz and the Tristana, knowing that they don't have the exhaust anymore. But yeah, I don't really quite end up doing a lot. I end up just dying. Like, you'll find that this happens really often when you play Samira if you don't really understand her damage, like me in this particular game. Of course, Samira is just released, so I still have like under 20 games of Samira, so I'm not going to really understand fully how much damage she really is capable of. So I kind of really thought in that scenario there that I would do a lot more damage than what I actually did. But it turns out that I really don't do that much at all. So it kind of just ends up being a very int play, and I give over shutdown, which is really bad, especially considering Tristana is the one carrying her team. So yeah, and next up we got Master Yi getting caught out in the mid lane when the dragon has already spawned. So this basically means the enemy team get a free dragon. There's no point to even contest, so instead I'm just gonna clear out the mid lane and just get some jungle farm. But what we can contest though is the Herald. Wukong is not in the region, Olaf is stoling the Herald. I go in and actually manage to steal the Herald right as it's like 1 HP. I get the S rank, but we already got the kill onto the Olaf. So here I'm trying to go onto Seraphine. I dash to the minions and ult her, and I actually managed to hit a blind Q to secure the kill onto the Seraphine. Pretty lucky there. Lucky in one sense, it's kind of skill in another sense to kind of try to predict where she's going to be. But anyways, we do pick up the double onto them as well as the Herald. Now this allows us to actually use the Herald onto the tower And as you guys can see there, you can actually dash through towers as well, so that is something that does work. And something else I want to briefly point out is the fact that just now when I couldn't dash onto Seraphine, I actually dashed to the minions beside her to actually get in range to ult her. So you don't necessarily have to always dash onto the enemy champion itself. You can just dash onto like minions as well. Here I use my W to block Seraphine's ultimate, get that S rank, exhaust the Wukong, get the kill on Wukong, dash over to Seraphine, and with the help of the Nami ultimate, I am able to secure the kill onto Seraphine as well. So yeah, really kind of just Katarina playstyle, just getting resets, ulting in, etc. And yeah, we are able to pick up a easy double kill yet again. So really kind of just getting the snowball rolling and rolling. The only real threat to us is mainly Tristana. Like, Tristana is super duper fed. The entire rest of our team isn't really very big threats in terms of like damage and kill potential, but they are threats in terms of CC, because as I mentioned, Samira basically has problems dealing with CC. Who doesn't? But of course Samira is someone that has to go in the middle of the enemy team, so it's kind of a big problem for her. So as you guys can see, Tristana is still very much even with me in terms of gold. She's only like about 400 gold behind me, so we're basically at very even amounts. I have 3 completed items, she has 3 completed items as well. She actually opted into the Wit's End, I guess maybe to counter Gragas and Annie. So here I'm again just trying to go in the backline, get hit by the Wukong ultimate. Of course you can't out before Wukong outs because he's going to instantly interrupt you. They get the pick onto the Tristana, which is huge. Now here I see 3 members of the enemy team, so I'm going to back off, but Master Yi sees 3 members of the enemy team. What does he do? He goes straight on in and ends his life away. I really don't know what he's doing there. So anyways, overall it's a 2-for-2 trade, so not really the best in the world after Master Yi basically ends his life away. But you know, it is what it is. It's of course solo queue, so you know that this is going to happen from time to time. So what do? We're just going to go back and farm because there's really not much else to do. The only objective up is Baron at the moment, and neither team can really just do Baron. So here Annie trying to set a trap here. I try to check for wards. No wards in that bush. Control ward in the bush anyway. So here Annie goes in, pro belt forward. I am able to dash forward using the Annie immobilize, and then I can EQ to actually just finish off the kill really easily. So really nice pick by the Seraphine onto the Seraphine. And now we're heading over to the other side to try to get a pick on the enemy Wukong, who is of course their jungler. So if we can get a kill on him, we are able to maybe do the Baron, and yeah, we are able to indeed get the kill on him. So here you guys can see Master Yi is already picking for Baron. I have the same idea, so we're gonna head over to Baron. However, the issue is the Blitzcrank and Tristana is pushing in top, and they're going for the inhib, so we need to send Gragas over to just pretty much just delay their time and not allow them to get the inhib. As long as he can protect the inhib from them, it doesn't really matter too much. So he is able to stall out the Tristana and Blitzcrank, and we are able to pick up the Baron for free without any contest. I'm able to back and build toward the Essence Reaver, of course, and red buff is coming up, so I'm probably gonna go for that. In the meantime, we have the Olaf getting in a 2v1 against the Master Yi as well as the Nami. Does end up dying, which is of course really good for us. The less members alive, the better we can use our Baron buff. Dragon is going to be spawning within the next 1 minute or so. So as you can see, the Samira AoE Q is able to clear the Kruk camp really quickly. So that's one of the huge benefits of the melee version of the Q, which is of course that it hits everybody. So here the Dragon is of course going to be coming up real soon. Master Yi goes for the steal on the enemy blue. Actually keeps pinging engage, so I'm going to assume that he wants to give it over. So I do just head on over to pick up the blue buff. Samira's mana is not the biggest problem in the world, but she does consume a decent amount of mana. So here we're going to get ready, set up for the Dragon again. We spot the Wukong on the red buff, and we're just hovering around the area to see if there's anything much that we can do. Alright, so here Dragon has spawned. We see Tristana in range. Does QSS to prevent herself from getting caught by the Nami bubble. If she did not do that, she would have been dead for sure. We're able to rush the Baron. Wukong is trying to hop the wall to steal, but he ends up actually just running away instead. So we get pretty much a free Dragon. Gragas goes in with his body slam. Wukong ults. I actually could have blocked this with my W, but I didn't really think it mattered too much, which it really didn't. I'm still at full health anyways. And yeah, so here my team does still have Baron. We do also have, of course, the double Dragon. So here Gragas actually going for the push onto the top lane inhibitor, which is a really smart decision by him. He even gets the kill on the Tristana, and the minions, Baron empowered minions, will actually finish off the top inhib. He's on the run from the entire enemy team and actually manages to escape scot-free, as well as of course pick up the inhibitor itself. So really good chain of events there, and now the enemy team has to clear super minion waves at the top lane. We can take this opportunity, push in the mid lane, get the mid lane tier 2, and yeah. So here we do have the all in onto the Olaf. Olaf gets chain CC'd, and I ult and he basically evaporates. So there he goes, another pick onto the Olaf. As I mentioned, really the main threat on the enemy team is going to be the Tristana. So we haven't really interacted with the Tristana in quite a long time, because Tristana's kind of been busy like split pushing, whereas we have been with our team getting picks elsewhere on the map. So we haven't really interacted with the Tristana in quite a long time now, which is of course really good. Like, I don't really want to fight her unless, you know, of course getting her dead is going to be a really good thing for my team, but I don't really think Samira can 1v1 Tristana, because Tristana with her bomb in 1v1s is really powerful. Although I do have the advantage of having exhaust, whereas she does not. She has ignite. So here I have the Essence Reaver, I have the BF Sword, about to complete the GA. And yeah, so now the next objective coming up is going to be Baron. Now you can see that the Tristana and Blitzcrank are at it again. They're here trying to push in the inhib again. So here I'm going to, this time, finally be the one to respond. We're trying to push in the inhib as well. Honestly, one person should have stayed to push in the bot lane inhibitor, but looks like the minions are going to get it anyways. Here I basically get destroyed by Tristana. I stasis Tristana's bomb, but I'm at 1 HP. I pretty much just die instantly. Gragas tries to come in to help out as well. Gragas manages to kill the Blitzcrank, but doesn't manage to one-shot the Tristana because he doesn't have Electrocute anymore. Tristana actually gets the kill onto him and actually gets the tower. So now our team is in trouble because Tristana is still pushing in, and we need somebody to respond to stop her from pushing in. So here Annie does have to channel Recall to stop Tristana from going in. Tristana senses danger, flashes away, and actually no real need for that because Annie had already used ult. Tristana goes in, pops the Annie in 2 auto attacks, and now we're in trouble. Tristana and Wukong are onto the base. Mastery goes in, tries to kill Tristana, ends up dying instead, and now we find ourselves in a situation where only Nami is alive. We have an exposed base that doesn't have the defensive shield anymore, and we are at real big risk of actually just losing the game right here and now. Enemy wave comes in, and Tristana, honestly, I feel that made a mistake here. I think that she should have tried to force end with the Wukong, but she didn't. Instead, she's going for mid lane inhibitor, and I'm going to instead just clear out the minions so she cannot actually do anything. Gragas ult does come in, but only really helps to push the Tristana away and hits the Wukong clone, which doesn't actually really matter all that much. So now we're gonna have to clear the top wave, because of course there's a really decent chance of a backdoor. Now here I'm actually thinking that they're on the Baron, because the most logical move for them is actually to fall back onto Baron and just take the Baron for free, because our team is gonna be busy clearing out the minions. So this would be basically a free Baron, but I see Blitzcrank, I see Seraphine, I realize that it's very unlikely they're on the Baron, and they are not. So they instead all chose to reset, and I assume that they're going to reset to get items and health for the Elder Dragon fight. Now here I was thinking of taking red buff, but I think that, you know, it's not really worth it. Here I'm trying to go in onto Seraphine to get a quick pick before Elder Dragon. We can see Olaf, Tristana, and Blitzcrank pushing down the bot lane. So now our plan here is to rush Elder Dragon and recall. But this is really risky because depending on how fast they push, they could end the game before we get the Elder Dragon. Now thankfully we do it really quickly, so we're all gonna quickly channel recall and get back to defend our base. They do pick up the inhibitor, but now they are gonna fight a full Elder Dragon team. So they're gonna have no choice but to retreat because they will just die to the Elder Dragon. Now I get interrupted there again, so I don't quite manage to go in. I use the W to block Tristana's projectiles. I get knocked up twice by Wukong. I'm gonna just stasis. Here you see Elder Dragon is destroying all of them again. They get aced by the Elder Dragon, so our plan of rushing Elder did actually work out. So now we have like 40-30 second death timers on the entire enemy team. So here there was 2 decisions, which is to push and end through mid or to push and end through top. So top takes really long to walk to, so my idea was to just push and end through mid. However, Mastery halfway through decides to change course and decides to go push in top instead, which I think is kind of a mistake. Gragas ends up pushing bot instead. I think we all should have just grouped together and all pushed mid and then try to end the game. Now the issue here is that Seraphine and Olaf have just respawned, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to force end the game now. So unfortunately we are going to have to back off, but we are able to pick up the inhib in mid, and Olaf and Master Yi are able to pick up the inhib in bot. No, I guess not. They are not able to pick up the inhib in bot, and I get the miscommunication that we're going to fight here, so I end up taking the dangerous route in, and I end up basically getting popped instantly 1v5. So here there's no hope for me. I'm definitely going to die here. At best I can trade a kill, but I don't manage to do that, so unfortunately I kind of screw up a little bit there, and my team has to run. Now the Annie gets hooked back in, she has to flash out, Protobelt out. Still, Blitzcrank still on the chase for her. She does still have the Elder Dragon though, so Blitzcrank is kind of in a little bit of trouble. In the meantime, Gragas and Nami going for, it's not really even a back door, it's going into the front door to end the game. The entire enemy team is distracted, trying to kill Annie and Master Yi, so no one really realizes anything. So a relatively exciting game. We do pick up the victory in the end. So yeah, there is your Samira complete guide. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I'll leave you guys with the stats as usual. As you can see, we actually did really well on Samira. Don't know if it felt like that in the video, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.